You can't work here if you're pregnant. I'm a cocktail waitress. I'm 7 months pregnant. No, obviously I don't drink while pregnant, or drink on the job ever. A woman, the Karen, comes in with what I'm assuming was her husband and son and daughter and asks to be seated for lunch. We're not really a restaurant, but we have a really small sandwich and wings menu. I gave the menus and Karen says, "But wait, do you work here?" "Yep." "But you're pregnant. You can't work here if you're pregnant." "I work here, I don't drink here," I say, with a laugh, trying to keep the mood light. The woman looks me over and says, "Have you taken any parental courses? Do you really think that's reasonable to have your unborn baby in here?" This is when I made an error. I get defensive about anyone asserting I'm a bad mother, obviously. So I said, "Well, you've brought your kids in here." "Yes, and what kind of example do you think you're setting for them?" I am still collecting my thoughts at this point when they grunt and wave me away. I figure I kiss my tip goodbye, but hopefully that'll be the end of a discussion. I see them flagging down the bartender after a few minutes and figure they are ready to go over. Karen asks to speak to a manager. Now, they haven't even gotten drinks yet, so I asked if there's anything I can help them with, and her husband, Mr. Karen, says really sternly, "No, just the manager. Didn't you hear my wife?" The place is too small for a manager. It's just servers and bartenders and 2 owners. The one who's working is in the back on a phone call and will be pissed if I go and bother her. I realize maybe they are still uncomfortable with my being pregnant, so I say maybe Ella, the other server, can help. Karen gets up and physically looks for the manager. I admit defeat and go back and drag her off the call. The owner goes over with a big smile and asks if there's anything she can help with. "Your server is pregnant." Owner says she's aware and asks if they prefer a different server. No. She can't be a drink girl if she's pregnant. That's child abuse." Owner, I assure you, none of our employees drink on the clock, especially not our pregnant ones. If you prefer, I can have Ella serve you. Mr. Karen, I don't want my kids seeing this. Owner, maybe I'm missing something. Seeing what exactly? Mr. Karen, talking really slowly and condescendingly. A pregnant woman around all this alcohol. Me, I don't know what you're insinuating, but I would never drink during pregnancy. Karen, look honey, didn't you take a health class in junior high? With a drink right under you half the time, alcohol vapors and is absorbed into your blood through the air, and then that blood goes to the fetus and poisons it. Owner and I exchange a look and realize we won't get anywhere with her. Owner, so we can have Ella serve you, or I'm afraid there is not much else we can do. Mr. Karen, we are not leaving until she is fired. Owner, we can't help you. I'll call the police. You are an accomplice to child abuse. Owner, there is no child abuse to speak of, sir. Please leave. Karen, getting crocodile teary. You may not think a fetus is a child, but I was taught to believe life begins at conception, and I will stand up for all living things, big and small, because that is the way my Lord and Savior wants me to do. The entire time she's delivering this tearful speech, she's looking around, expecting others to, I don't know, join in with her. Upload. Owner, you are disturbing my customers, and if you don't leave you are trespassing and I'll have to escalate this, which I really don't want to do. Karen, Jesus I love, and Jesus said this is not okay, just because you think it's okay to abuse a child if it's small enough. This is an Irish pub and the owners are devout Catholics. She wasn't having any of this. Owner, hey, I don't need anyone to tell me what Jesus said. If there were abuse here, I'd have acted to stop it, but there isn't any. I need you to please leave. Mr. Karen, I'm calling the police. Owner, do that. We just stopped trying to service their table. As we all wait for the cops to arrive, Karen keeps trying to give her sermon, but there was a game on that people had come to watch and eventually everyone yelled at her until she piped down. Enter Awesome Officer, Awesome Officer 1 and Awesome Officer 2. Awesome Officer 1, Town Name Police Department. Is there a Mr. Karen in here somewhere? Mr. Karen, right here, officers. Awesome Officer 1, you said you are witnessing child abuse. Are the parties involved still in the bar? They point me out. I pretend not to notice because I'm worried they'll take them outside and I won't be able to watch any more fireworks. Awesome Officer 2. So what exactly was going on? Karen. This woman was drinking. She's pregnant. You can plainly see she's very pregnant. Before I can go over and tell them she's lying about my drinking, the officers look at each other and look back at the Karen family. Awesome Officer 1. That's not illegal. Karen. What? Mr. Karen. Look here now. Awesome Officer 1. It's definitely not recommended, but it isn't illegal. Now, do you know the woman? Is she a friend of yours? Family? Karen. She works here in a bar and she's pregnant. Mr. Karen. I want to see this place's liquor license revoked. Awesome Officer 2. So, listen, she isn't doing anything illegal. What I can do is I will talk to her, but we can't take any action beyond that. Is there anything else you observed that you'd like to report? So Awesome Officer 2 comes over to me and takes me to a quiet spot while Awesome Officer 1 is getting their personal information and taking the rest of the statement. Karen is crying again and I assume bemoaning being the last bastion of good Christian morality in this bar. Awesome Officer 2 introduces himself and congratulates me on the pregnancy and says I probably overheard why they were called. Starts to offer me some public resources for new mothers, parenting classes, etc. I didn't want to interrupt him, so I was waiting for the right moment to interject with my innocence. That's when patrons come over thinking I'm in trouble and start defending me. We have plenty of regulars who know me and they would not let this BS stand. They even complained to the officers that the owner had asked the Karen party to leave and they'd continue to make a scene. So Awesome Officer go talk to the owner, who says she was just about to call them, but sirens outside are bad for business. And she was hoping the Karens would eventually leave on their own. The officers tell the Karen party they need to leave. Mr. Karen. This is a public place. I have every right to be here if I want. Awesome Officer 1. No, sir, this is a private business, and the business owners have asked you to leave. It sounds like more than once, but at least once since we've been here. Karen. This is a disgrace! This is an affront to scripture and child safety and... Awesome Officer 2. I understand you're upset. Let's talk about it outside. He places a hand on Mr. Karen and gives him a firm look. The next part was said as Mr. Karen walks out backwards so he can keep yelling at us, but bumping into things every step of the way. Mr. Karen. I'll be contacting the authorities about your liquor license. I happen to be close personal friends with the mayor. And you two, I want badge numbers. Don't think we are done here because we haven't even started. So the officers took them out and, as it was told to me by a regular who left around the same time, walked the Karens to their car, which was illegally parked in a handicap space, for which they were ticketed. They did make a complaint to the liquor authority, claiming among many things that we served minors, and we were investigated, but obviously came up fine. My boss asked me to hold off sharing this story with anyone until the matter was settled, but now it is, so had to share, still laughing about it. Flip him dump Karen. You can't work here because you're pregnant! The baby will absorb the drink in the air! Entitled Mom thinks reserved for customer with kids, parking spots aren't for me and my child. This happened this past weekend while grocery shopping with my 18-month-old child. Not as bad as some of others in this sub, but I thought it belonged here. The town I live in has a big community fest each year on Main Street. It's a typical New England type of Main Street, and that is actually two different one-way streets with a big field in the middle. The small number of available parking spots around the area are usually taken by the vendors, so the town offers shuttle service from the local grocery store. This in turn makes parking tough at a grocery store, so I made sure I get there early. The store has parking for customers with children spots in a couple rows. It's pretty convenient because it's 4 spots on one side with a cart pick-up return in the middle. Instead of trying to carry my kid, my diaper bag, and a reusable shopping bag into the store to grab a cart, they are right there. All this is important. Players are me, Entitled Mom, and store manager. I was lucky enough to grab one of the kids' spots Saturday morning, which was great because there weren't many other spots available, if any. I was in the process of loading my kid into the car when it started. Entitled Mom. Excuse me? Me. Goes about my business because I have no idea she's talking to me. Entitled mom. Excuse me? Me. Looks around and realizes she's talking to me. What's up? You park in the wrong spot. Me. Gestures to the sign. These are for customers with children. At this point I gear myself up for an argument about how they are not for dads with children, which is a disagreement a friend of mine said he got into once. Entitled mom. It says children, but you have one child. Children means 2 or more. Me. Smiles. I think we both know it just means customers who have their kid with them. Entitled mom. It means customers with 2 children or more. You have to park somewhere else. Me. Starts pushing my cart and child towards the store. I'm not moving. Entitled mom. Starts shrieking. I mean shrieking. To the point where it made my child jump. That spot is not for you and your one kid. It's for people like me with 2 kids. At this point I decided to stop engaging and just get into the store. I'm not trying to get into a parking lot dispute with my 18-month-old child with me. Hell no. I was almost there when she started blasting the horn. Not just beeping it but laying on it, so it was just a constant horn sound. Get your flipping car out of that spot or I'll have the manager tow it. I got into the store just as the manager was heading out. He heard the yelling and beeping and asked what was happening. I told him the truth. Some crazy lady was pissed because I parked in the spot for customers with kids. He looked at me, looked at my child, and then back outside. When entitled mom had just parked across 2 handicap parking spots. Out of her SUV climbed 2 children who looked to be about 10 to 12 years old. Store manager sees this and runs outside. Store manager. Ma'am, you can't park in the handicap spot without a handicap sticker. You'll get a ticket. Entitled mom. I don't give a crap. There is no other spot since some butthole is taking up the kid parking spot with only 1 kid. At this point the door closed and I couldn't hear anything else. Thankfully I didn't run into her while shopping, which was probably a small miracle. 45 minutes later I was heading out the door and see a cop park next to the lady's SUV and he's writing her a ticket. The state I mean is $150 fine for the first violation and $250 for any after that. I'm not sure if taking 2 spots equals 2 fines, but she's probably lucky her car wasn't towed. Hopefully the cop wrote 2 tickets, one for $150 and one for $250. Video on the screen tells the story of entitled mom and her son breaking into police officer's apartment. But every song's like gold teeth, grey goose, tipping in the bathroom, bloodstains, ball gowns, trash in the hotel room, we don't care. We're driving Cadillacs in our dreams, but everybody's like